Want to learn about networking and building your author community? Then this is the show for you. My name is Tonya Duncan Ellis, and I'm the host of Write This, an author interview show. And today I am excited to welcome Danielle Metcalfe-Chenail, a dear friend of mine, to talk about building your author community. And she is a master of this. Danielle, I became acquainted with her in Houston about 3 years ago. She's Canadian, and she went on to become nominated as one of the most popular authors in the city of Houston. So she is wonderful at building community and networking. And I'm going to invite her on. We had a problem with connection a minute ago, and we're going to get her back on here. Let's see. It froze up, so I'm going to see. I got off.
Oh my gosh. And now
Okay,
what is
there
even
you
happening
go.
with my video? I told you I'd find a way to break it.
This and Danielle, I had one friend on, and she had a nosebleed on the show one time. So things happen, and I don't know what's going on, but I know because you're in Canada, it may have something to do with the connection. And you know how things are here in Houston. My power's out all the time, my
Oh,
internet, so there's
I know,
different
but
changes at different
seriously,
times.
we had it going.
We knew this would happen.
I'm
So
in
where
my
are you?
office, my home office in rural Nova Scotia, Canada.
Okay, so that's probably what has impacted the connection. And one interesting thing about Danielle is that she actually has ridden with sled dogs and done all kinds of cool things in that climate. And if you follow her page at DM Shania, you'll see all kinds of interesting images. Yay,
Yeah,
you're
you
back.
probably had a
Well,
former life as a live newscaster or radio show personality because you just really saved that.
hey, yeah. I know, but seeing all the cool things you do in Canada, seeing all those pictures, it's like, wow, she's
Oh,
been in all these
well,
interesting
thank you.
places. And you live all of different
I think the
temperatures
temperature in
too.
Houston was actually the most challenging for me.
Okay, I don't like cold. So for me, when I see those pictures, I'm like,
Yeah,
ooh,
I remember
no.
that,
Yes.
especially when it
But
was minus 40 up in the Arctic. Because I was still living in Houston at the time, and you went, no, no, that is not right.
I know. Now, Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit how you became an author, and tell us a little bit about your books? Because
Sure.
I
Well,
mentioned in
you
the
and I know each other mostly because we write children's books now, but I actually got started after my graduate degree in history as an author for grown-ups. So these are a couple of the early books that I did that came out, and so a lot of to do with history, a lot to do with aviation reconciliation, and then of course the picture book that we helped to launch. We were both, doing some great stuff around 2019 when this book came out and got to have some good times together. This one combined both of those loves, came out with Tundra Books from Penguin Random House Family in 2019, and the follow-up, Freddie the Flyer, is coming out this fall. So that's me in a nutshell,
oh,
basically a
awesome.
history geek who, once I had kids, started writing for them.
Okay, and I know with
Elise.
your, is it Ellis, Elise the Aviator, it's still going strong with all the awards and all the
That's
accolades.
kind of
So
you to
that's
say.
amazing.
Unfortunately, it has not won any awards yet that I know of, other than Children's Choice Awards here in my house. But it is a bestseller in Canada and is being released as a paperback this fall. So it's been on a bunch of lists, like CBC top lists and things. But you know, I, I don't want to take credit where it's not due.
That's winning because you're one of the top sellers in your
Mhm.
country. So that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
that is fun.
Yeah. And I wanted to focus on building community and networking. And I wanted to say, Danielle, that meeting you really helped me in my career and networking because you encouraged me to join SCBWI in my area. Before that, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. And so you kind of made me feel welcome and brought me in. And that's something that really struck me about you, is that you seem to have a gift of building community. So I thought you would be wonderful to come on and talk about the importance about community building and give some tips for authors to help build their
Well,
personal
thanks for saying
community.
that. I was reflecting on how we connected. And if I remember correctly, we were both on a neighborhood Facebook page, and you were letting people know about your
Mhm.
Sophie Washington series. And of course, we were living in, and you are still there in the suburbs of Houston. Not a lot of writers are often in those spaces. And so when I saw that there was someone else who seemed really engaged and excited about writing, I think I poked you in a message and just said, hey, have you heard of this organization? Maybe you want to drive there sometime, or
Yeah, so you really encouraged me, and you also set up write-ins with other creatives. So Danielle had authors, artists, and different creatives for us to build community. And it seems like you do that frequently or in your moves. So talk a
well,
little bit.
maybe it's partially because I have moved quite a bit between school and my husband's work. And so you do have to hit the ground running a little bit. And I think we're often fed the idea as writers that we're supposed to work alone and be kind of these lone wolves. And I bought that mythology for a while, but I realized I'm actually, even though I'm an introvert and I like a lot of cave time, I do really love being around other writers, and that we can give each other energy and spend time together, drinking coffee and eating muffins, like you said, at the write-in at that coffee shop there, and just helping each other keep going, because sometimes it is a long slog, right?
A very long. And can you talk about how you structured our meetings? Because I liked you had it kind of organized for us. So talk a little bit about how
Sure.
people
Well,
can do that.
and I've been involved with different kinds of groups, and I still am. Some of them are more writing critique groups. Some of them are like the one that we did, the write in sort of structure, and then others are like accountability groups. So I can start with the write in that we did together. And if people are interested, or you're interested in some of the other ones, we can talk about that. But, basically we figured out generally a time and a place that we could structure a semi-regular meeting. I find that that is really helpful to have sort of Wednesdays at 10 a.m. or Saturdays at 3 p.m. And it takes a lot of the scheduling and the logistical issues out of the equation. If it's just recurring, you don't have to check in all the time. It's also nice to talk to the owners of the restaurant or cafe and make sure it's a quiet time. They don't mind a table full of writers kind of loitering over a cappuccino and a croissant. And so, really going from there and creating an open invitation generally for the write-ins, because you're not going to be sharing material necessarily. It doesn't really matter for you to have like ground rules necessarily, or you're not feeling vulnerable really. It's just like, okay, we're going to start at 10. We'll have 10 minutes of chit chat and catch up. We'll start the timer. Everybody has to be quiet for the next, you could pick half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever your group wants. And then we'll take another break after that. And I really love that. What worked about it for you?
I was amazed that I was kind of thinking, oh, I'll just hang out with everyone and I'm not going to get that much done. I was amazed at how much I was able to get done during the times when we would just be writing, and even coming up with new ideas and being in a different space, because I always would write at home in certain areas of my house or by myself. So just even the energy in a different space seemed to
I
be
remember I
helpful. So I
look
really
up at
liked
you and
that.
you would just be zoned right in. And then, that also gives a bit of positive peer pressure to me, because I'm like, oh, she's really going there. Like, I'm going to try and keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I liked. And I met some different people that I've still, Connie Vidal I
Mhm.
listened to her podcast and have still learned from her through the years. So it was good to meet different connections and people you may not have run into
Oh,
otherwise. So I really
fantastic. And you
enjoyed
know
that.
what? It's just like anything. I think sometimes it works. Sometimes there's an awesome dynamic, and sometimes you need to tweak things, or maybe the coffee shop shuts down and you find somewhere new. So I think having a little flexibility built in can be great too.
Yeah. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you about is I was like, she came here from Canada and she was nominated as one of the most popular authors here in Houston. So how did you do that?
Shameless self-promotion. Well, I think you are really amazing at this. I mean, you just literally taught a course at the SWI NYC conference about social media and marketing and promotion, right? And so I've been publishing since 2009, and I've had 14 years to
Oh,
build up some community through social media, e-newsletters, and um, one of the things that I find really important is to make it relationship based. And it's not like I'm just pushing advertising or, being like, buy my book, buy my book. A lot of these folks on
yeah.
social media and in my e-newsletter list, I mean, we've known each other now for 10, 15 years. And so when I found out about the Reader's Choice Award, because I was a resident of Houston, I was able to nominate myself and get the word out to friends and family across North America, and they were all able to access through the powers of the internet. So there was the Houston contingent, but then I also lived in Wyoming for a while, and Edmonton, Vancouver, England, all over the place. And that's something that I've heard before, is to build community. Travel and moving around can be awesome for that, because then there's all this pollination and networking that happens across the globe.
Right. Well, that's great. And that's a good reminder to all of us to continue. When I watch you, it encourages me to keep trying for things, because it seems like you're constantly, trying for different grants or putting your name in the hat for all kinds of different
Yeah.
opportunities.
Why
So
not,
I
right?
see that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think as writers, our egos are already kind of pounded by rejection. And one of the best things that we can do is build up that resilience. And it's true. I mean, I throw a lot at the wall to see what sticks for grants, awards, publishing contracts. And sometimes it takes a while to lift myself back up when I'm hitting those walls. But sometimes you luck out, and if you don't try, then you never know.
Right, because I feel like you're a good example of that, because you seem like you're just constantly grinding away, doing these
Sometimes
different.
it does feel like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
grind,
See,
yeah.
and I listened to one podcast a few days ago that said fail 100 times, and I thought that's really good reminder for us as creatives, that just keep trying and keep
Yeah,
on putting yourself
definitely.
out
Well, and
there.
on the topic of trying and community, last year, a friend in a writing critique group and I created a try jar. And every time that we submitted to a contest or an editor or an agent or something, we would put a rock into the jar. We were trying to fill it up by the end of the year, just to kind of have that visual. Um, yeah. And
Oh,
it wasn't like,
yeah.
we can't control the end result, the product necessarily. All we can create are these opportunities for success. So that's why, yeah.
Okay. Makes you feel visually, I did
Yeah.
something. I'm trying. Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Be, it can be rough out
which
here
which
being a
is why we need
creative.
our
That's
people.
for
We need our
sure.
community, right? And I don't know about you, but I'm in two critique groups now that meet virtually. We've been meeting for 2 years, or sorry, 5 years total. And I just started an accountability group that's going to get going in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea. So then you support with the ups and
Hmm.
downs and
Yep.
other things. That's important, just longevity. That's probably why you've been able to be
Well,
sustaining
and
this
it's
so
been
long
great
too.
because, you mentioned Connie Dowell. She's one of the folks in my Kidlit one and has moved from Houston to Virginia. So it's like there's a seeding out that happens too. And now my hope is every time I have a new book to launch, maybe I can go stay on her couch and do launches in her, in Richmond or in other places. And so we have a chance to combine work with pleasure too.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. So you get to see your friends and promote your book
Yeah,
in
and
different
see cool
places.
places in the world.
Mhm. Now, I saw that you recently were participating in some kind of online community course or
Yeah, so
something. What was
I have
that?
been, I guess, diving into the building community idea a lot lately, and there's an organization here in Nova Scotia called the Writers Federation. And so I led a professional development, I guess, evening, and it was really interesting. I think a lot of the questions from folks focused on critique groups and writing groups, and it sounded like quite a few of them have
Mhm.
been burned in the past, through different uh, personality clashes or conflicts and things. And so that was something that we addressed a bit in that session. We realized there was a need to go into it more deeply. So at the end of May and into June, I'm doing a 3-session workshop with 12 participants to really dig into how to create, build, and elevate writing groups so that they're healthier, safer spaces, and you can get a lot out of them because you need different things at different times. Sometimes you just really want to be in a group of people that are cheerleaders, that are telling you to keep going, and that's fantastic. Other times you really do want to improve your craft, and so you want to make sure there's people
Mhm.
there that are giving you constructive feedback. Sometimes you need a promo squad,
Right.
right? Sometimes you need your street team to help you do a blog tour or get the word out through events and social media. So there's different, maybe different fits at different times. And it's just like any kind of a relationship or friendship. Sometimes you hit snags and we're not always coached on how to deal with that. And, our tender writer hearts, we have to we have to take care of them.
Right. So it seems like this is an important part of the writer's life, listening to you, even as important as writing in itself, if you
Well,
want
I
your
think
work out.
everyone's different. And so there are folks out there who are able to write, edit, create with just really themselves and maybe their editing and publishing team. But even that I think of as a community. I mean, you're working, or rather, your picture book has been snapped up in a deal and is going to be coming out in the next year or two. So now you're starting to engage more with the team of having an illustrator and an art director. So I think there's very few of us that can actually work alone. Maybe when we're at our laptop or our notebook in those few hours that we're in that creation mode. But I do think that those relationships, those communities are important at different stages of production.
Right. And even if you're self-publishing, you need an editor, you need even critique partners because you're still wanting to create the best work you can. So beta readers and all those
Mm-hmm.
things are so important at any stages.
Yeah,
So
well, and
yeah, that's
yeah,
important.
you've been
Yeah.
a beta
And
reader
I
and a
thought, yeah,
sensitivity reader for me as well on the project.
oh, I remember that you've read one of my first forays into the picture book, trying to write picture books. Another thing I thought of when you were talking is I'm a
Mm-hmm.
member of the 12 by 12 um, challenge, and that's been a great community for me. Because actually, when I reached out to you shortly after, I had Danielle read one of my first attempts at picture book writing, and then I joined the 12 by 12 group. And that has been
Mm-hmm.
very helpful for me in learning the craft of writing picture books because I started out writing
Yeah,
chapter
I've heard
books in
great
middle
things
grade.
about them. And now they only accept new members in January and February of the year, right? So maybe this is something to plant a seed with your viewers that they can look at next year.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And different things work for different people, but for me, I found that to be very helpful as far as with if you're interested in
Well,
writing
and
picture
you just
books.
got back from
And
Highlights Retreat. And so going to those kind of conferences and retreat spaces can be great to meet people.
Right. And I've actually met community through that. Like, yeah, I've met other authors who I have connected with and follow and keep in touch with. So yeah, anytime you're participating, and then if you're in SCBWI, you can critique groups or make other author friends and build community in that way as well. So, but I do find that so important. And again, when I look at it's kind of like when I was at Highlights, they have a word garden with different rocks with different words on them. And one I had that week was serendipity. And I do find through my whole journey as an author, different people came into my life at different times and helped me on my way move up to different levels. And you definitely, I see as someone like that, because meeting you made me get more confidence to join, because I was doing a lot by myself, and just start connecting and building connections with other authors and other creatives. And what meeting you was kind of like a catalyst for that for me.
You were already knocking it out of the park as far as I could see. And I think your background in realty, I mean, you're a natural born people person, or at least that's the image I have of you. And so, I mean, you're just ready to go. And you've got that ambition, that energy. And so I think sometimes what I hear is people feel shy, when they're at retreat space or conferences or these writing groups. So maybe I'll turn the interviewer tables on you, and you can share what helps you when you're in those situations to reach out and meet people.
Well, for me, I consider myself kind of like an extroverted introvert, where I have to have quiet time for myself, or I get kind of cranky. Yeah, when I go to those writer spaces, I'm just so happy to find other people, other creatives, and I become energized interacting with them. So, and I guess if you feel shy, at least know that these are kind of your people, and they're the people that understand what you're going through. A lot of them are on the same path or have gone through what you're doing. So, this is a great chance to connect with others who are doing what you're doing and kind of get you. So that's what gets me active. But for me, it's just, I'm so happy, like, yay, because my family, I'll be like trying to explain if I'm writing the picture book manuscript, they're supportive, but they don't quite understand everything that I'm talking about.
I hear you.
So, like, okay, I'm like, look, you just got to visualize.
Yeah.
They're like,
well, and I mean, there's other authors too, but of course we can build our community with editors and agents and publicists and all these other folks that they're really just people at the end of the day. And I always have to remind myself of that when we're in those kind of conference situations, that you can just go talk about, I don't know, chili cheese fries or, something like that. You don't have to be pitching yourself all the time.
Right. That's right. And they're humans. Just, yeah, that's true. And I see people as people, even if they're, a high up here, whatever, they're still a person just like you. Yeah, and I am you. And I used to work in journalism, and I had to talk to strangers and different people all the time. So I'm comfortable with that, I guess. But that's a great idea, just to think we're all human, and they have the same anxieties or insecurities.
Well, and you mentioned your background in journalism and how you kind of go and chit chat with people. And I don't know about you, but my background in freelance and journalism helped as well, because I realized that people love to talk about themselves. I mean, I'm doing it right now. So right. If you can go up to somebody at a conference or, in a book launch or something, and just ask, hey, what are you working on? Or, what's your favorite book? Then it takes the pressure off you, and they're thrilled to tell you about their favorite authors.
Right. And ask them about their journey, their books, or what they're doing, and they'll go, and they'll be on and on.
And then you can't get rid of them. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm so happy to have this talk with you, Danielle. And if you're interested in learning about her journey, please follow her, because she does some amazing things. And it's really inspiring to me to see other creatives, even with writing picture books. I'm going to tell you, I remember you would go to the library and come back with stacks of books before you wrote Alice the Aviator. And so then I was like, okay, Danielle did that. That's what I need to do. Go get my book. So then you learn from others and get ideas of what you can do and help you
And now
along
I'm
the
just trying
path.
to keep up with you and ride your coattails and learn how to do Instagram Live.
You
Yay.
already done it.
Oh, it's just
You've
such a
already done
pleasure to connect with you. And yeah, if people want to get in touch with me on social media or find me at my website, it's daniellemc.com.
it. Okay. And is that with your Instagram and Twitter as well? Or what's your
I am
social
on,
sites?
see, I feel like I need to have a little bit more work on this, but I have slightly different names. So I'm Danielle_author on Twitter, and I'm DM_Chenail on Instagram. And I'm on Facebook, but I keep it mostly personal and within my community. So get to know me a little bit, and then you can come cozy up by the fire at Facebook.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Danielle. And I'm sure this information will be helpful to many as they build their own networks and community. So thank you so
All
much
right,
for
and we're
sharing
going to
your
do brunch
experience.
soon, right? All right.
Yes, you got to come down here. I may be going to Canada sometime,
It's a
so
big
I'll
country,
try to
but I'll
hook you
find
up.
you. Take good care.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us. And see you next time for another episode of Write
Bye.
This. Bye bye.